I'm Blair. Welcome to A Geezer's Perspective. I recently had the sad duty of preparing remarks to be offered at memorial services for one of my longest and best friends. He was very ill, but found the way and the words to call me and ask that I speak at his service. Of course, I agreed. But it was some distance away, and my own health is a bit iffy, so I suggested that perhaps I should videotape my remarks so that they could be used if my health or bad driving conditions prevented me from making the trip. And he liked that idea. I gave it a lot of thought, pared down my first draft, which would have taken 45 minutes, to 5 minutes. I called my friend, told him what I'd done, and then blurted out, "Would you like to see it?" A preposterous thought. Of course not. He's the last person who should see and hear this. This is something you do when they're gone. You do it when the one person who should be hearing these loving comments is the only person who can't. There was a long pause, and my friend said, "Absolutely. Why not?" I said, "Then I'll do it." To me, this was a triumph of logic over long-held, never evaluated custom. I've sat through so many memorial services thinking, these remarks are beautiful and fitting. People are in tears. Charlie would love to hear this. What a shame. Then a thought occurred to me. Why not start the practice of pre-death eulogies? I know it sounds very creepy and ghoulish, but it makes so much sense. But how could it be done? You can't just call a close friend and ask, "How you feeling? You sound a little bit under the weather. Just thought I should tell you that if you have in mind me making comments at your funeral someday, let me know. I'll work something up and share it with you now. That way you'll know. Think about it." No, that's not going to work. But still, I was pretty pleased with myself for coming up with what I thought was a clever, unique, and important idea. Even coined a name, I thought, pre-death eulogy. Then I went online and didn't find much, just a couple of thoughtful entries about pre-death eulogies, living funerals, and pre-funerals. Then I mentioned my idea to a friend who said, "That sounds like a living eulogy." Bingo! This searching for living eulogy revealed quite a bit of information on the subject, and it sounds so much better. It has a positive slant to it, and already has been referenced by some prominent authors and at least one TED Talk. So, rather than try to push what I thought was a mind-boggling breakthrough idea, I simply want to support the living eulogy approach. It is, after all, simply a specific form of thank you note. In my Thank You Letter a Day project, there were in fact a couple of letters that verged on a living eulogy writing. There was just no imminent death involved. I had simply felt the need to tell lifelong friends what they meant to me, while they could still read it and I could still write it. And I did. And it worked out great. So here's a thought. Let me suggest you think of a dear friend, scribble down a few notes about their impact on your life, moments you shared, things if you were seeing your friend for the last time you'd want them to know, and write them a brief note. Nothing about eulogies and final days, none of that, just a letter. In my book, 20 Years of Reward from 365 Days of Thanks, two themes keep recurring. One, the value to both the sender and the recipient of expressions of gratitude, and two, the importance of not having to experience the heartbreak of failing to thank someone when you still had an opportunity to do so. What I call the dreaded Mrs. Meyer's regret heartbreak, growing from my failure to thank a teacher who had had a positive influence on my life, but she never knew how grateful I was. Give it some thought. Leave a comment. I hope you'll find these thoughts interesting and will share in my adventures by becoming a subscriber.